So am I the only one that's noticed over the last couple of years the extreme levels of nostalgia that's coming back into gaming? It's mostly been represented in the levels of retro games that are being played and created. The sad thing is, by the time you realise that retro gaming is just the games that you played when you were a kid, you feel old and once again reach for the painkillers just before settling down to game until midnight. And the only reason most people game that late is because we fall asleep due to work the next day. Disclaimer, this is just Lilith drawing from her own experiences due to work and the drain of other social responsibilities, and is not meant to represent the gaming community as a whole. But just leave an II in the comments if you find this is you. It's market research after all. Now, this nostalgia is all well and good, but if you want a new game that captures the essence of your gaming youth, well then we've got just the one for you. Little Goody Two Shoes is a blend of 90s anime and gaming with some of the old folk storytelling thrown in, just to give it that sprinkle of good newness. It's a game we got to play when we visited the EXG convention in October, and with the enthusiasm of the developer, we thought we would have to give it a go. This game is just a perfect amount of charm, nostalgia, humour and horror for it to be a very wonderful game. You play Elise, a young woman who has grown up as something of an outcast in her hometown. She is an orphan and was raised by her grandmother, who has unfortunately recently passed away. A life of having to scrape by and be the errand girl of the town has made Elise bitter. She wants to be the one in power with riches and the ability to treat the townsfolk the way that they have treated her. However, she has no idea about how to go about doing this. However, as time moves on, the yearly Walpurgis festival is on the way and the town is getting itself ready, and this is when the game starts. For those of you who don't know, Walpurgis Night in Germany is the night of the witches, the fae and the spirits. No one should be out on this night unless you have iron on your person or want to be spirited away into the night. The festival is an important one for pagans and Christians alike, and this game definitely draws on that. Elise has until the festival to gather up 3 sacrifices and make them to the woods, and then she will have all that she wishes for. The witch in the woods has promised her this, and so this is what Elise wishes to do. Honestly, this is a very simple premise of the game, and that doesn't really give you any idea of how the game plays or what it's like. This game splits itself into 2 very different games. The first half is during the day, obviously, where you must complete the tasks for the villagers so that you can survive, and at night you must traverse the woods to fight off the evil and claim your dreams. I have to say I've played more daylight hours than the night so far, due to the fact that there is a lot of things that you can do that draw you in during the day. No matter which way you play, if you speed through the day or take it slow and do as much as possible, you are on a timer. The day is split into 5 parts, and each part has different things that can happen during it. There is the morning, lunchtime, early afternoon, evening, and then the dreaded night section. During the day you can run errands, and there are a series of mini games that will allow you to earn money, which you will need to buy food and other items to make the nighttime easier. There are a lot of different mini games that represent different chores, and different ones that come up during the day, time of the week, your social status, and who you have within your party. There is a wood chopping game, a catch-based game with the children, an egg finding game, and a game to catch apples. There are many more, but I haven't played those at the moment, as even though I've been playing for 4 hours, I haven't got that far into the game itself. These games are the perfect blend of nostalgia and pure arcade gaming mayhem. The designs of each are even reminiscent of a 90s arcade game setup, down to the 2-player mode when you have one of your friends with you. Don't worry, I know I've mentioned this twice and I will get into it. You can choose to miss these games or do as little or as many of them as you like, but there are issues that arise with this. If you do miss too many games, the villagers start to call you lazy, and you also start to starve. Because like in real life, Elise needs to eat, and so you need to make sure that you have at least some bread. This game also has 2 health bars. One of which is how many hits you can take in the deepest, darkest dungeons of the night, and the other is how many tasks you can do or just how long you can exist without eating. They do, however, affect each other, and if your food bar starts to run out, you will start to starve and, well, die. Which is a bit dark considering that this is what happens in real life, but you know what, here we are. This game does have a very dark and twisted feel to it, the deeper you get into it, but here we go. There are several different types of food that you can get through the stores, and as I've mentioned, bread is the easiest. It's also given to you throughout the day by friends, so you can make sure you don't starve. But it is going to be hard going if you choose to do things that way. Oh, and as a side note, if you're not really paying attention to your food level, the game will make you do so. How does it do that, do you ask? Well, if you ignore it, the screen will start to blur around the edges, the music will waver in a terrible way, and your sprite will start to shiver and shake. It all makes it very noticeable that it is time to get some food and to eat, which is a brilliant representation as someone who has that same issue if I don't eat. As I've mentioned several times, bread is the easiest, but it is far from the best food that you can get in this game. There are other types of food, pretzels, cakes, and fruit, which you can find lying around, which will not just increase your food bar, but they will also increase your health as well if you have taken any damage in your nightly or daily, as the game wears on, haunts. And believe me, you can take some damage. It's a fine line of management. How much do you eat and take with you into the night, knowing that you might die if you cannot keep your health up? It's not a major part of the game, other than the mini games, of course, but it is enough to make you pause and consider some of your options, which is always great. Also, you may need to give your food to friends to keep them from suffering the same fate as you. Now, before we go any further into this section, there are some spoilers ahead, though not so many, and this game has a large amount of LGBTQ+ representation, although some of it is very twisted. So if that's not for you, you may want to skip ahead or just go and choose a different review to watch. Elise has two main friends in the town that she lives in. The lovely nature child Freya and their sister in training Lebushan, who she has known for her entire life. However, at the beginning of the game, you also meet your third friend and possible love interest, Rosenmarine, which it turns out Elise nor myself can say her name properly. I am so sorry, you sweet little summer child, you. And what makes these three ladies so important? Well, we have to get into the spoiler part of the review now, and then I can come back to these lovely three ladies. You see, there is an aim in this game, other than your survival and trying to get rich quick. I've mentioned the nighttime a lot, but I haven't really expanded into that too much. The town Elise lives in has two folklore tales that massively impact this game. The first is that there is a witch in the woods. The townsfolk fear her and have patrols at night to look for this woman. They blame the storm that happens at the beginning of the game on her and any other bad thing that goes on. The other is the Lord. It's never outright stated as to who this Lord is, or at least in the 4 hours of playing, I haven't really found out who it is. However, there is a tale that the Lord can give you any wish your heart desires, but first you must bring him 3 sacrifices, or items depending on how you choose to look at it. It boils down to your flesh, your blood, and your heart. This sounds a lot more deadly than it needs to be. You just need some of your blood, something like fingernails or hair, and your girlfriend. You read that right. That is why there are 3 lovely ladies in this game for you to make friends with, fall in love with, and then you have to give them to the Lord so that you can become rich. So, during your days, you can talk with any of these ladies and you can go on dates with them. You have to be careful as going on dates will replace a work slot, so adding another level of management to the game, but these dates are worth it. Each one is a fun moment that embodies each character beautifully and lets you know a bit more about them. As you get closer and closer to your prospective target, love interest, you start to learn some of the darker things about them that can give you an understanding of their own wants and needs. Le Bouquin is Elise's first and oldest friend. The two girls, both being orphans, as far as we know, have grown up around the church together, being taught together, and both have been groomed to become nuns. However, once Elise's granny dies, she drops out from the nunnery and chooses to return home. Le Bouquin, however, chooses to stay on and work for the father of the town. Unless you really upset her, every day in the evening as you head home, she is there to give you 2 loaves of bread. Why 2? Well, we will get to that. But her dates are mostly held around the church and deal with the nature of religion. Freya is a child of nature and of the townsfolk. While she goes to church the same as everyone else does, she represents the middle ground between religion and sin, which is a surprising ongoing theme throughout the whole entire game. She is also longtime friends with Elise, but she is also the first one of the 3 to try and take things to the next level, flirting and giving gifts to Elise, which can help her in her nightly wanderings. Her dates tend to be out in the wilds and offer you a chance to see the woods around the town without the terror of the nighttime dungeons. And then there is our final lady, Rosenmarine, who arrives the night of the storm, taking cover in Elise's disused granary. She is a sweet girl, good at cleaning, cooking and gardening, but she refuses to go to church, instead choosing to stay at Elise's home and be the sweet little maid and prospective wife material. She is the reason that the last 2 major game mechanics come into play. No one knows who this girl is. She arrives when the witch brings down the forest around the town, and as such, people are suspicious of her. Is she the witch? Are you the witch? After her arrival, you must spend time allaying the fears of the townsfolk in order to prevent them from calling you a witch. You can do this in many ways. Turn them against one another, do more work so that they can't consider you to be evil because you're too hardworking, say certain things and turn up to mass every Sunday, it's called. There is also a snitch, a young girl who spots Rosenmarine, and if you do not feed her some of your hard-earned food, she will start to spread rumours, and if you don't want to waylay them, you could find yourself being burnt at the stake. She's not the only one that can do that though. There are so many people in the town who speak back of our Elise, and we have to stop them from thinking badly of us, otherwise, well, we don't really need to know. It's game over. Now, this is a very in-depth game. I've been playing for 4 hours and I feel that I've only just scratched the surface. I can't comment much, even on the ending. If it's rewarding or not, or simply, I'm just nowhere near finishing this game. So if you like 90s anime, video games, arcades, religious horror and folk, or you just want a game that you can really sink your teeth into, then I think this would be the game for you. And it's not badly priced either. Waiting for a sale might be your preferred method, but £15 really wasn't a bad deal for a game.